Welcome to SATV News. This is Anaf Hussain with our headlines. Bangladesh Army believes country will become more stable after election. Nazrul Islam Khan urges BNP men to work together for victory for party candidates. Democrat Zohran Mamdani wins New York City mayoral race. Turn off the volume, Mamdani to Donald Trump. Now, in details. Bangladesh Army believes that an election would further strengthen the country's stability and help normalize the law and other situation. The Army supports holding the national election in line with the framework set by the interim government. Lieutenant General M.D. Mainur Rahman, General Officer Commanding of the Army Training and Doctrine Command, made the remarks during a press conference held today at the Officers' Mess in Dhaka Cantonment. Lieutenant General Mainur said the Army has been filled duty for the past 15 months. Army wants to see a free, fair and peaceful election takes place so that we can return to our cantonments. Claiming that various false and motivated propaganda campaigns have been spread against the Army, which has been assisting the civil administration for over a past year. He said certain vested groups are carrying out false, fabricated and international propaganda. The Army is now more united than before. The responsibility entrusted to us will be carried out by the Army with full commitment. BNP Standing Committee member Nazrul Islam Khan today urged all party leaders and activists to work with unity to ensure the victory of the candidates nominated by the party of the upcoming national parliamentary election. Nazrul Islam Khan made the remark as the chief guest at a discussion titled Shahid Zia Workers Awakening Production and Development held at the Institution of Diploma Engineers in the capital's Kakrail. Bangladesh Jatiyotawadi Shramik Dal organized the event marking the historic 7th November, the National Revolution and Solidarity Day. Addressing the party's leaders and activists, Nazrul said, "Remember, opportunities don't come around often. BNP has announced a 31-point propaganda where the concerns of people from all classes and professions, and particularly the workers, are addressed." He highlighted that the history of the BNP and the example set by Shahid Zia President Ziaur Rahman is one of the practicing politics and participating in elections by including everyone. Meanwhile, Dr. Zahid said the ordinary majority people of the country will not accept any conspiracy to hinder democracy under any circumstances. Workers must remember that if there is a democratic environment, yours and my demands will be met. If there is no democracy and if a democratic environment is not ensured, then the hopes and aspirations of the entire nation will be fulfilled. The Injury Committee formed to investigate the tragic crash of Air Force training aircraft at Milestone School and College on July 21 today submitted its final report to Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus. Head of Investigation Committee Lieutenant General S.M. Kamrul Hassan, Principal Staff Officer of the Armed Force Division, formally handed over the report to Chief Advisor at the State Guest House, Jamuna here. Chief Advisor's Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam told a press briefing at the Foreign Service Academy this afternoon. The investigation found that the crash occurred due to a pilot's error during flight training, which caused the situation to spiral out of control, he said. The probe committee formed on July 29 interviewed around 150 individuals, including experts, eyewitnesses and victim families, and gathered 168 pieces of information, the press secretary said. Adding, based on the findings, the committee placed 33 recommendations to the government. Among the major recommendations, Shafiqul Alam said, the report proposed that for public safety, all initial Air Force training should henceforth be conducted outside Dhaka. Home Affairs Advisor MD Jahangir Alam Chaudhary today said the upcoming national parliamentary election will be free, fair and acceptable to all. Necessary instructions have been given to authorities concerned, including the law enforcement agencies, to ensure a free and fair acceptable election, he said. The Home Affairs advisor made the remarks while speaking to journalists after a view exchange meeting with the local administration and law enforcement officials in Ghazipur Deputy Commissioner's office this afternoon. He assessed reporters on the upcoming election. He said that the election will be held in February next. The Home Advisor called upon all remain vigilant against misinformation and propaganda on social media regarding the 13th parliamentary election. Mr. Chaudhary further warned that miscreants might spread propaganda ahead of the polls and assured that strict action would be taken to prevent any banned parties from being active in front. Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami Amir Dr. Shafiqur Rahman has called upon the nation to observe National Revolution and Solidarity Day on November 7 with due respect and significance. In a statement issued today, Dr. Shafiqur Rahman said the day holds profound importance in the history of Bangladesh. He recalled on November 3, 1975, a counter-coup led by Major General Khalid Musharraf aimed to restore the Awami League to power, but patriotic soldiers and masses united under the slogan Nare Takbir, Allahu Akbar, to foil the conspiracy and protect the country's independence and sovereignty. The observance of November 7 this year comes at a time when the nation again faces a deep crisis, Jamaat Amir said, warning that multiple conspiracies are underway to reintroduce fascism in the country. If anti-national conspiracies succeed, the country will fall into grave danger, he added. Bangladesh Bank has dissolved the boards of 5 liquidity crisis-ridden Islamic banks facing mergers. The central bank called the boards of directors to this struggling unconventional all banks on the day to share the decision to dissolve the boards as part of the ongoing merger move by the regulator. The Bangladesh Bank high-ups congratulated the board members for their time and energy in operating the bank in his critical period of time. Emerging from meeting, the chairman of the just expired board of directors of First Security Islamic Bank, Abdul Mannan, told the reporters that the bank regulator dissolved the bank's board like others with floral appreciation for their responsibilities. Viewers, we are taking a short break. Stay with us.
Cafe Lounge. Experience luxury at Grand Palace, Rangpur.
Welcome back. You're watching SATV News. News from abroad. Democrat Zohran Mamdani has been elected mayor of New York City after defeating independent candidate Andrew Cuomo, a former governor of New York State. Mamdani, who will become the first Muslim mayor of the biggest U.S. city, outlasted former Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent after losing the nomination to Mamdani. Earlier this year, Cuomo, who resigned as a governor 4 years ago after sexual harassment allegations that he has denied, portrayed Mamdani as a radical leftist whose proposals were unworkable and dangerous. Mamdani has called for raising taxes on corporations and the wealthy to pay for ambitious left-wing policies such as frozen rents, free childcare, and free city buses. Wall Street executives have expressed concern about putting a democratic socialist at the helm of the financial capital of the world. Meanwhile, Democrat Abigail Spanberger celebrated her victory the Virginia gubernatorial race on Tuesday, marking a key moment for the Democratic Party ahead of next year's midterm election. As Spanberg has declared the winner, the crowd erupted in cheers. The moderate Democrats' focus on economic issues like affordability clearly resonated with voters who appreciated her programmatic approach. In her victory speech, Spanberg struck a triumphant tone, saying, "My fellow Virginians, tonight we sent a message. Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship." She emphasized unity and problem-solving, expressing gratitude to her supporters and acknowledging her opponent, Republican Lieutenant Governor Wilson Early Sears. For a hard-fought race, Spanberg highlighted collaboration across party lines, stating there is so much more that unites as such Virginians and as Americans than divides U.S. At least 7 people were killed when a UPS cargo plane crashed while taking off from an airport in Louisville, Kentucky. On Tuesday evening, the state's governor said. Andrew Beshear said the plane's 3 crew members were likely to be among the dead after the freight plane exploded as it departed Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport at around 5:15 local time. At least dozens of others were injured when the plane crashed, sending thick plumes of black smoke into the sky. Officials warned that people suffered very significant injuries into the incident and the death toll could rise. In a statement, UPS said 3 crew members were on board, adding, "We have not confirmed any injuries or casualties. A preliminary investigation underway, but officials have said it is too early to say what caused the crash." President Donald Trump is watching the situation in Nigeria very closely after warning he could launch military strikes in that country, said White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on Tuesday. Trump said on Sunday the U.S. military could deploy troops to Nigeria or carry out airstrikes to stop what he could call the killing of large numbers of Christians in the West African country.
Good afternoon, everybody.
The U.S. president's threat of military action came a day after his administration added Nigeria back to a countries of particular concern list of nations that the U.S. says have violated religious freedoms. Other nations on the list include China, Myanmar, North Korea, Russia, and Pakistan. Meanwhile, Leavitt also said that Trump speaks often with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and trade teams from both countries continue to hold serious discussions.
With respect to that topic. So I know the president has great respect.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Tuesday that unilateral U.S. military action inside Mexico won't happen, even as the U.S. has ramped up its military efforts, including fatal strikes in Latin America in recent months. Sheinbaum's comments came in response to questions about the NBC News report published on Monday, which said the U.S. had begun detailed planning for a new anti-cartel mission inside Mexico, including sending troops and intelligence officers to the country. It won't happen, Sheinbaum said during her regular morning press conference when asked about the NBC report. Sheinbaum has repeatedly rejected unilateral U.S. military action inside Mexico, including U.S. President Donald Trump's offer to send U.S. troops to help fight cartels.
Que tiene principios muy claros y están al principio.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Tuesday thanked Pope Leo and Brazilian President their calls for dialogue and peace as the United States escalated their military activities and threats in Caribbean. Maduro, speaking at the ruling United Socialist Party of Venezuela's Congress, highlighted a recent statement by Pope Leo urging dialogue between the U.S. and Venezuela to preserve peace. He also thanked the United Nations Human Rights Office for condemning threats of military force against Venezuela and praised Lula's stance on regional peace and the role of the community of Latin America and Caribbean states. The comments come amid increased U.S. military presence in the Caribbean and ongoing political tensions in the region.
Hoy ha habido tres pronunciamientos muy contundentes. El pronunciamiento del Papa.
Russian President Vladimir Putin presented state awards to researchers and constructors who developed Russian strategic weaponry, including nuclear-powered Burevestnik cruise missile and Poizdik nuclear-powered torpedo, said the Kremlin on Tuesday. Putin said Russia had modernized its strategic forces and thanked those responsible. Russia says the 9M730 Burevestnik, dubbed the SSC-X9 Skyfall by NATO, is invincible to current and future missile defense with an almost unlimited range and unpredictable flight path. Since first announcing the 9M730 Burevestnik in 2018, Putin has cast the weapon as a response to moves by United States to build a missile defense shield. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urged the United States on Tuesday to remain open to supplying Kyiv with long-range weapons for its war efforts against Russia. U.S. President Donald Trump has said he is still not ready to provide Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles. Addressing a European Union summit from the Pavlovsk area of eastern Ukraine, Zelensky also called for most Western sanctions on Russia, including on Russia's gas and nuclear sectors, and said he wanted Ukraine to join the EU before 2030.
That is very important, even as a deterrent.
Brazilian president said on Tuesday his government will push for an independent probe into a police raid last week in Rio de Janeiro that killed 121 people, including 4 police officers. The judge's order was for arrest warrants to serve, not a mass killing. And yet there was a mass killing, said Lula, while speaking to journalists in Bolem ahead of the COP30 climate summit. The hard fact is that in terms of the death toll, many see the operation as success, but from the standpoint of state action, it was disastrous, added the Brazilian president. The operation on October 28 was the deadliest in Brazil's history. It targeted the Comando Vermelho gang that controls the drug trade in several favelas through the city's hilly terrain. Rio de Janeiro state officials described it as a success. State Governor Claudio Castro said the only real victims were the slain officers and that all others killed were criminals. Iran has released 2 French nationals imprisoned in the country for over 3 years, Iranian and French authorities said, in an apparent exchange for an Iranian student who was conditionally freed in October by Paris. In a post on X Tuesday, French President Emmanuel Macron said Cécile Kohler and her partner Jacques Paris, who had been detained since 2022 in Iran, are out of even jail and en route to French embassy in Tehran. The dialogue continues to allow for their return to France as quickly as possible. Macron said. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei said on late Tuesday that the 2 French citizens have been released on bail and will remain in Iran under supervision until the next stage of judicial proceedings. Kohler said Paris were among dozens of foreign and dual national held by Islamic Republican in recent years, often on espionage-related charges. France has said the charges against Kohler and Paris were unfounded. At least 11 people died and several were injured in a fire that broke out in home for elderly in the town of Tuzla in northern Bosnia late on Tuesday evening. Bosnia media reported the fire broke out around 9 p.m. and was put out around 10 p.m. Reported Federalena TV The cause of the fire was not known. It said at least 5 people were injured and 3 are in intensive care. Federal TV said a spokesperson for the University Clinical Center Tuzla confirmed that several patients were treated for carbon monoxide poisoning. Tuzlansky Bahoto reported. Before ending, we go through the headlines again. Bangladesh Army believes country will become more stable after election. Nazrul Islam Khan urges BNP men to work together for victory of the party candidates. Democrat Zohran Mamdani wins New York City mayoral race. Turn the volume up, Madani to Donald Trump. You are up to date with our top stories so far here on SATV. And to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with us.